I was, after the war, I was looking for a college. And I wanted to go to college during the day and work at a radio station at night. And I'd gone to a school called Stony Brook School for Boys. I had been working since 14, 15 years of age, and then my father was a minister. And his church is right across the street from the San Carlos Hotel. And I would, at night, do programs. One was a 10 o'clock news for the Spearman Beer Company, Spearman, the Prince of Golden Beer. And I would say, now the 10 o'clock news, but first this word from Spearman, the Prince of Golden Beers. And to take a glass of water, sip it, and say, that's the best beer I've ever had. And then I would do the news, and then I'd go down to the cocktail lounge and do a remote. And the next morning, Dad's parishioners would be filing out of the church, and they'd say, Dr. Thomas, we heard Peter drinking beer at the radio station. Well, then my grades were going downhill, so Dad sent me to Stony Brook School for Boys, it was a religious school, and I loved that. And I used to go into New York City, and I used to say, dear God, I want to be in this city someday. And I'm going to see how I got there. I had a couple of years, I had a wonderful program on Sunday afternoons called Dream Time. And I had been sending things to New York, trying to get to New York. All I wanted to do was get to New York. And they were saying we're not hiring, or, you know. So this program is called Dream Time. And the local jeweler in Memphis, A. Graves and Stewart, and he came down and said, Peter, I love this program. Could you give me a copy so I can send to the Hamilton Watch Company? I'm the oldest Hamilton Watch Company distributor in Florida. So we had to make a glass disc then and pack it up and send it. The next thing I know, they go down in Memphis from the Hamilton Watch Company. And they said, we love the program. Could you get a better orchestra? Well, I tried. And they said, would you come to New York to do it? So I did. And then I was there, and the director said, hey, you got a pretty good voice. You ever thought of coming to New York? So I auditioned at NBC, CBS, and CBS offered me a job, and I worked there for about almost 14 years. Worked with Edward R. Murrow, and Charles Collingwood, and Eric Severide, and Walter Cronkite, and I did a program on the Jack Farr Show, on-camera news. And it was wonderful, but that program, the Hamilton Watch Company, I did that in New York with Hank Silverman's orchestra, and I remember it was all, but in those days, before the technology that we have today, it was a big disc, and when you started, they would cue you, and the metronome would start, and I would say, the passage of time is beyond our control, but it passes beautifully when the Hamilton marks the hour. And then the orchestra would come and the girl would sing, is it a dream? It was called Dream Time. Very successful. And so that's how I got to New York, was through that program. And it was a wonderful time. I was there when the soap operas, I used to do Brighter Day, and then I did one for 9 years. You remember the first line, and now, young Dr. Malone. And I did a lot of commercials. Let's see, I did Esso before it was Exxon. I can tell you a little story about that. Big auditions, and you keep coming back and gets down to 2 people, and they said, look, they're changing the name to Esso to Exxon. We were going to fly 2 of you, you're the finalists. We're going to fly you down to Houston, and you'll record. And you fill out all these papers that you would not tell anybody what the name was going to be. And so we flew to Houston, and he went in first, recorded all the commercials, and we knew for the first time it was Exxon. And they picked me, and when they came up to do the first batch of commercials, they didn't want anybody to know that name. And there was one day I was sitting in the audition room waiting for the other guy to finish, and one of the lawyers rushed in and said, hey, there's an Exxon chicken farm in Oklahoma. The other one said, 2 X's? So when I did the commercials, I asked him, I said, whatever happened to that guy. You know what? They said they flew to that place, got some old clothes, and bought the farm. But as some of the other commercials, Estee Lauder, you don't have to wait to see the difference. That was a line for that. And I did IBM, helping people find the answers. I did that for about 9 years. And lots of others, but I love New York. I was there for over 50 years, and it's just the most magnificent. I miss it more than anything else. I really do. Any more? They want me to talk a little bit about the past. Any questions or anything?
Do American Express.
I did American Express for 15 years. And this was line. To apply for a car, the American Express card, don't leave home without it. Oh yeah, my daughter just reminded me, Listerine I did for about 8 years. Listerine, the taste people hate twice a day. What done?
That put me through college, right?
That put you through college.
NFL films.
And yeah, I've done NFL. I've done a lot of I love doing documentaries. And I remember my dad, he would say he wanted us to be very quiet on Saturday nights because that's when he prepared his sermon. He said, always give us memory work. Every Sunday, the next Sunday, we have to keep us quiet on Saturday night. So I remember going to this audition. They were looking for somebody to do narration on One Survivor Remembers, which is somebody who survived the Holocaust. And I walked in, there were about 19 people. And I didn't go in and say, hey, all I did was took the copy and I said, what Dad always said, you got to see pictures. Don't just say words, see pictures. And I just looked at that copy and I said, remember the way you felt when you walked into Nordhausen. And I read, and the director got out, and he said, look, I know there are about 10 people out there, but as far as I'm concerned, you got the job. And I did that, too. And it won the Academy Award. And I think it was 97. Liz, is there anything else that I... What?
I don't know. There were a lot.
Yeah, but... Anybody in the...
Coca-Cola.
Do a Collier Town
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Oh, yeah. Brenda said Coca-Cola. I did Coca-Cola for about 20 years. And back in those days, you held on to accounts, you really did. And the Coke, it was McCann Erickson, have a Coke. And when I first came to New York, maybe I shouldn't tell the story.
Oh, yes!
All right. When I went to New York, I noticed in the elevators that people, when they were talking, the announcers, hold their hands over their ears. And hello, the great boys I have. And that was just the opposite of what Dad told me. He said, you got to feel it and don't think of your voice. But the thing was, that at that time, it was all the big voice. And so, I remember I did the first Coke, and I said, have a Coke. Your voice broke. I said, well, I did it on purpose. And then after that, everybody started doing the natural thing, But you've met some wonderful, wonderful people from all over the world doing documentaries. I love doing the ones about the Second World War because many of the places I remember. And I did this One Survivor Remembers. That was PBS bought it on every year when they go to all the different graveyards. And that was a beautiful, beautiful film. I think I've talked about it enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Where's Melinda? Is she here? Melinda?
Yes, she is.
Melinda, would you come up and
yeah.
please? The artist who did this, beautiful. Thank you. She was wonderful. She did such a beautiful thing that she did. Melinda, thank you so much. I don't know, you'll never know how much it meant to all of us. And she told us when we called up and said, please send a picture early on in your service. And most of these we were just, look at Bob Mixon. He looks like me, but he was 19 years old. And that's me, we were all very, very young. But for somebody to do that is incredible. I never thank you enough. And I think that's all. Thank you, everybody.